Fight Capital, where we enter the ring of combat sports business. I'm your host, Ryan Rappaport. Today, I'm joined by Rina Anthony Rasolofoniaina. He's a prodigious talent in the world of combat sports digital marketing. He has carved a niche for himself for over 15 years of unparalleled experience, which has seen him transition from being an enthusiastic basketball commentator to the senior social media manager at One Championship, where he masterminds strategies that propelled him and the brand to the forefront of global sports media. He's got an amazing portfolio of growth metrics for brands like FIBA and an innate passion for MMA and basketball. And so Rina embodies that real fusion of passion, strategy, and execution in the digital realm. Thanks for being here today, Rina. How are you and where are you joining from?
I'm great, Ryan. Thanks. The intro is amazing. I'm joining you from France right now. I relocated here after living in Singapore last December, and I'm in Europe since March, basically.
I know I touched a little bit on your journey there, but you've gone from like writing websites to hosting a radio show about basketball and really just kind of becoming a major sports and an early adopter in social media marketing, which is truly inspirational. Can you just tell me a little bit about your journey in sports marketing and how has your experience in content creation kind of informed your approach to content in the MMA world?
Sure, I will try. I will try to be fast because I tend to speak a little bit too much. But it started basically with me loving sport and especially basketball. And really, like at the beginning, from the content side. So I came into sports through content because I used to really love manga, the Japanese anime and stuff. And there was one that I really loved that was called Slam Dunk. It was a basketball manga, and I really came into the sport through that, and also through the culture because I'm still a big hip hop fan, and basketball and hip hop was really linked together. So I came first because I really loved like the content that was around, and all the cool stuff that I liked were linked to basketball. So that's why I came into that. And living in the small city in France called Grenoble, there were not that many, big organization there. So I had to create kind of my own experience. So as you mentioned before, we're talking about 2007. I started doing everything that was possible. I had a radio show about basketball. I was writing article on websites. I was doing, MC commentary on basketball, local tournaments here, everything I could. I'll go really quick, but fast forward, it gave me a pretty interesting network here and gave me opportunities to work, which made me move to Paris and started really my journey into, content and sports there. I work with different organizations, but not only in basketball. The last year before I moved to Switzerland to work for FIBA, the International Basketball Federation, I actually did video production where we were doing sports documentaries for TV channels, and I tapped into a lot of different sports: basketball, rugby, soccer, roller derby, and of course combat sports and MMA. So that like really helped me to have a 360 experience of how content can be made, and that's very useful for now where video and content production is like super important. That experience that I had in editing content for TV really helped. So yeah, fast forward, then I worked for 6 years for FIBA as a digital content manager, 3 years and a half for One Championship in Singapore, in Asia, as like a senior social media and PR manager, and came back here in Europe, in France, mainly for family reasons, since March, and opened up my own company and doing sports marketing consultancy, mainly on digital and social media, of course, for different sports.
Well, I'll definitely dive into that a little bit, but it's such a diverse background with your work in FIBA and now into the MMA. Can you just talk to me a little bit about the difference in the fan engagement strategies that you see from basketball to MMA, and what tactics have you found that kind of universally work across all sports?
Yeah, Ryan, the major one that I see is obviously that basketball is a team sport where combat sport is very individual. It's one guy against another guy going in a cage, which allow you to leverage different kind of engagement. Like with a team, you can leverage more of the national pride, the local pride, the appartenance of a group. Where when it's a combat sport, you have one athlete. It's more about you try to identify to that guy. You like his character or you don't like it. But the common ground about it is that at the end of the day, you try to have people going like having affinities with either the player or the team. Like they follow the journey of somebody because they like him, because they can identify. And win or lose become less and less important. even now, if you see the way black basketball is marketed, if you look at the NBA, yeah, they can do Los Angeles Clippers against whatever, the Philadelphia Sixers, but they will mostly do like one player against one player. They will do Curry versus Harden. They will do Kevin Durant against LeBron James. So they use the same leverage to kind of sell the sport. So that's where I see the difference is a team sport versus an individual sport. But at the end of the day, you try to have like storylines about what are the stakes, and that can translate into any sport.
Oh yeah, I think about that with American football too. It's like, yeah, there's 22 people on the field, but they will analyze the stats for how this one wide receiver does. And then yeah, that makes complete sense crossing over to MMA, right? Or stealing it from MMA because it seems that it's, such a pertinent part of just combat, right? And that's what I see all sports as ritualized combat essentially. But you've kind of seen that importance of those partnerships for digital sports media across all these organizations. And can you just talk about what that means? That's digital sports media aspect of marketing means to like the bottom line for engagement and revenue.
I mean, I hope I answered that question well, but my answer to a question would be that at the end of the day, what we do, what I do, is obviously like creating content, but too many times people just limit that to posting content and creating cool stuff. That's not true. What we do is like trying to create a piece that people can engage with, grow the audience, and ultimately like what commercial sponsors and partners want to do is like tap into that audience, tap into that unique storytelling that you are selling them, and that's what you monetize. The content is only like the sport in itself is only like an opportunity to create this connection with the people. So hopefully I answer correctly to what you ask, and correct me if that's a little bit off topic, but the idea is that yeah, the content is like how you reach the people and what the commercial partners are interested in, and that creates revenues ultimately.
No, you hit the nail on the head, right? I think that a lot of us look at it from the outside, and it's like the clicks and the likes and all of that. But really, when it comes down to is that engagement drives revenue, whether it's ticket sales, media views, commercial views, all of that type of stuff is driven by this work in digital media, right? And so you probably have seen this even more now that you have your own company as a freelancer. You're working to grow all these different types of audience and engagement for different types of sports entities. Can you just share some of the insights into how influencer marketing has changed the game, especially in the context of combat sports?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So the thing is now, the influencers marketing, some are even more important than the media. If we come back to what I explained before of people identifying with the athlete, that's the same thing with influencers. That's kind of hard to totally identify and connect with, I don't know, ESPN, MMA, or Bleacher Report, because these are like entities and media. But it's very easy when you go with like a personality, an individual person that looks like you, that maybe like, eat the same thing as you, that you see train like you, that every day you connect with. And that's the power of it. Like that's the old usage of like the word of mouth, but applied now through digital. And that's why I believe like now it's depending of your budget and the goals and everything, but influencers marketing in a sense in the world where we live now is even more important because people can relate way more than to corporation or organization. You obviously have to select the right people and look at their audiences and look what are the connection, the engagement rate and everything, because you don't want to invest in somebody that is not relevant for what you're doing. But once you create that good connection, it's hyper localized. Like you can literally have somebody that is in a particular town like this thing and will speak to these people. And it's not about just the audience, about the million of followers and everything. Sometimes somebody that has like a micro or macro influencer can be way more impactful than, if you have somebody that is like a huge celebrity, in the media or something like that. So yeah, I think it's key now. And the good thing is that all organizations can use that depending on their budget. It's not about having big millions of dollars. Like at your scale, you can do influencers marketing and it can be impactful too.
there's you hit on like a really big topic for me too, is that micro influencer and that how much power they actually carry in the relationships. But I think that's just one trend in like the future. But how do you see the future of fan engagement, and do you think technology will play a major role in that?
I think so. I mean, I've seen a few days ago, there was a video of Mark Zuckerberg and Lex Friedman. I don't know if you've seen this one. They were using like the Oculus thing, and I was looking at it. So it looks like they were really like in front of each other, but they were like miles apart, obviously. And I was thinking about that movie that I've seen, Ready Player One, and I think like it's very soon, and that will change the whole experience because now a lot of people will have the experience of like, I mean, actually, it won't be the experience of being in the arena. It will be a different experience. I don't know if it will be better, if it will be worse, but it will be literally a different experience where now, when you go in the arena, you have something that you cannot feel at home. Like I was just last weekend, I was in Paris for the PFL Paris cage side, like when Cedric Doumbé entered and like delivered this 9-second knockout. I don't think you can replicate that in any sense with TV, social media, anything. That's impossible. But with these technologies, I believe it will be the closest thing to it, the closest thing to feeling, and you will even have accesses and I think that's the future because that technology, Oculus, virtual reality, metaverse, will give you accesses that you actually cannot have in, like, think about it. If you are in MMA, you can literally be in the cage where a camera cannot be there. Only the referee and the two fighters can be there. With virtual reality, I think you can be. Basketball court, the same thing. You could have a position, whatever you want in the court, thanks to it, and feel things that even people that are courtside cannot feel. So, I mean, I'm at one point I cannot wait to see that. On the other side, I'm a little bit afraid. Like I have a 3-year-old son, and I'm thinking this guy is going to just stay in the living room looking at this thing and not going anywhere outside because it's so cool. So yeah, I still don't know what to think about it. But as a professional, I think that's an enormous opportunity for work.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's nothing that can be matched from the energy that you feel when you're in a stadium, and if whether it's like Brave CF, who's had a really amazing event there, the UFC, who had that amazing event, now the PFL. I mean, you could it wasn't being totally communicated over the broadcast, but you could feel how the commentators are saying the energy in this place is
Yeah,
unreal.
yeah.
And so kudos to the French fans, because I think that they overnight kind of made France a destination because of the passion of the fans. And that totally speaks to the production quality as well, and having fans exciting and getting the clips of that. So really cool thing. And I agree that the way that our experience in person is changing and how media is changing that is going to completely change. But you have a pretty vast experience in the content distribution side of it, right? So can you just talk about either whether it's something like that where it's virtual reality or just the real life, what are some of those challenges and advantages you see in distributing content on like an OTT platform like a Roku or an Apple?
The pro of that is that I think that's something that I've done when I was at one championship, for example, working with Roku, is that it allows you to give a second life to content that maybe is not sold yet or is like has been already produced, already packaged, and you can give it a second life there and earn revenues with not that much work, only the setup, and then you don't have that much to do after. But then like there are other players now that even like paying you to create original content, and you see a lot of these with platforms like Netflix and these guys. So I would not say it's the future. I will say now it's an additional layer that right holders should definitely take and use because there is a good opportunity there to reach more people that maybe will not stumble upon your content. The future, no, I will not say. I kind of like, it's not the same thing, but what is being done in the world of like fast channels. So it's these like channels where you have 24/7 content. You can repurpose stuff that you already have in stock. So you could do a basketball channel with purely basketball documentaries or whatever you have in your content. I think that is pretty interesting because there is not that much work to do behind also, but it can allow for obviously commercial opportunities because then you can plug in there advertising and everything without having to reproduce and reinvest into content production. I'm less an expert there than in obviously the pure social content. It's a space that I also love because content distribution is very important now in the digital space. But I'm still keeping a very close eye to that.
Yeah, the content distribution part of the game is super interesting to me. I was surprised as I've learned more about like who's actually paying and who's getting paid for it, right? So there's,
Hmm.
there's this kind of like huge underbelly of it, right? And like getting the views and how people are getting that. And that's super interesting to me as well. But I know that you also, I mean, as a digital marketing social media expert, you probably have some background in the actual audio side of it as well, right? And I think of things like Clubhouse and X Spaces. How effective are the audio platforms for combat sports, and do you see them evolving for that type of sports content?
Yeah, obviously, I went into that when we were during the COVID times where everybody was stuck at home and Clubhouse was just like killing the numbers in terms of like new members. So I actually started working on that with Dan, that I'm working with right now for PFL Europe, is the director of fighters operation there. And we were doing like Clubhouse to cover fight nights, like while people were watching the fights, we had these rooms, these audio rooms where we're talking about the fight. But the cool thing about it, because people do that also on YouTube on live stream, which is a watch along live stream basically. The power of it is that, and it was like connecting to my experience that I had 10 years ago in radio, where you can have people going on stage and talk with you and interact at the same time live. And I think that's pretty amazing. Like I remember having fans sending me DMs like, wow, that's so cool. I talked to one of my most the fighter that I like the most. He's an idol to me, and you gave me an opportunity to go on stage and speak for a few minutes with him and talk casually, have a normal conversation. So I feel it's, since COVID has stopped and everybody started to go outside, it has definitely slowed down a lot. I still go in regularly on like Twitter Spaces. I think now it makes a little bit more sense because you have media that are using that. It's kind of a little bit niche. I agree, and I think the potential for that is still untapped, because we're talking about a very long format where people engage there for hours, not like 10 minutes, 3 minutes like a video or a reel, but for hours. So think again, if we go back, so the opportunity for monetization and revenues, you have something that is very long that you can insert you have a lot of space to put partners related to that. And like once people are in, they're staying, and they can do that while they do something else, because it's like a podcast, like what we're doing now. Like people can listen to what we are saying, but do something else at the same time. And the audio spaces are great. And that capacity, very safe, of having of top athlete like Cedric Doumbé used to do clubhouse rooms at the time, and obviously now to be in the same room or do like a press conference with him, it's pretty hard. But in the clubhouse, it's pretty easy. He can do that from his room. It can be pretty safe because a fan can talk to him, but without like no possibility of doing something strange. And if it becomes out of line, we can just ban the guy. So it's a pretty safe space, and I think there is still a lot to do there, and the potential for audio, social media, and audio based networks is not 100% optimized and exploited yet.
I even as I was saying the question to you, my brain was spinning because I was like, wow, it could essentially be like a virtual watch party without having to actually see the video. It's just you could mute the regular commentators
Yeah.
and have your favorite people commentating. I
Mm.
actually when Dana White's Contender Series first came out, I remember you had the option to listen to Snoop or Uriah or the regular commentators, and I had Snoop and Uriah on the whole entire time because it was very different. Granted, you weren't getting as quality of commentary, but if you're a fan like myself and you know and see the sport, sometimes you're like a little bit different. But that's interesting. I know we talked about VR, we've talked about audio, but you just had this kind of massive contribution to the sports marketing space for combat sports. What do you see as like the next big thing for digital marketing in combat sports? And are there any trends or platforms that these sports entities should be looking on and keeping on?
I mean, I will maybe have a strange answer, but I believe that we now focus a lot on like the digital content, the reach. But I think the future is things that are will the organization that will be able to do digital content very personalized and tailored to the audience that they reach, and connect that to the physical world. I think that's the next step. Is like going back to the basics, where what you do on digital can have an impact on what's really happening. I'm giving you an example. Like maybe in a future world, we will have like fans, voting and dictating what will be the matchup, who will fight against who. There is a massive, once you give the power to the audience to to interact and really have an impact, and not just put a like or comment and say who they like. When you go to the next step, I think it will be amazing. It can be a matchup, but it can be what will be the color of the fighter's short or the walkout song. These kind of things that feel like, wow, I actually like consume something that I've been a part of. I'm just giving a few examples. It can be unlimited, and once again, there you can plug in commercial sponsor revenues, because once they can dictate, you can connect that with like all the commercial world, and I still think it can be endless. So yeah, for me, it's like using the tool and the amazing reach that social media can give now, and connect that to the physical product, to actually the real sports product on the court, and enhance like the in arena experience, and just the overall sport finally, and make it like a kind of hybrid between digital and real sports. Hopefully it's not too abstract what I'm saying.
No, not at all. I mean, and if I just think about it, to be able to affect the outcome, that's going to make me want to be a part of it. And more so, I think of anything like win bonuses, is right, which are pretty kind of the boss is picking it most of the time. Put that in the hands of the crowd and actually see what did the crowd think? Have live voting, that whole thing, or even just being able to engage with that, right? As a fan, I can listen to or see what the walkout song is going to be beforehand, or I can get that back view of the room, and I can pick the fighter that I want to be watching train and warm up. I mean, just you made perfect sense, and I can see
Okay.
where that would go. And it's just I'll say that the conversation here is just like so valuable. I'm learning a lot from this. I know a lot of other people are going to listen to this and get value from it. And so I really appreciate you being here today, Rina. If anyone who's listening to this, how can they follow you and continue to kind of support your career as you're growing in it as well?
I'm pretty easy to find. Just like Google Rina Anthony. I'm basically on the main platform. X, Instagram, LinkedIn. Really happy to have a chat. That's really something that I wanted to do. Like I think I put a LinkedIn post about that when I left Singapore in December. Is that it's literally the first time in my career that I was a free agent, because I always work for many years for different companies, and I'm just enjoying being doing consultancy, freelancing now, because I can do so many sports. Like earlier in the year, I worked in football in France with Ligue 1. Now, obviously, doing work with amazing guys at PFL Europe in combat sports. But also, I'm talking like just this morning, I had a conversation with the guys at United World Wrestling, because I love what they're doing, the grappling aspect that they have. It's just like the possibilities are less now, and I feel that's the right moment, like where I have the right mix of like experience, network, to go into that, and yeah, just be able to do fun projects.
Hey, that's what it's all about, having fun, right? And getting all that exposure. I mean, you're going to be across so many different type of platforms. That's a pretty cool place to be. Well, thank you so much for being here. It means a lot. You've taken the time out of your busy day, and looking forward to getting this out to everyone, Rina. So thank you again.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Keep in touch.
Yes, we will. Cheers.